Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing an updated cover of This Fire Burns by Killswitch Engage. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know I did this cover about 5 years ago with a uni band, and well, I sing differently nowadays, hopefully I've improved some. So I thought I'd do an updated cover. Now, if you stick around to the end, I'll also talk a little bit about what parts of my voice have changed, and also some of the things I'm doing a little bit differently to the original studio version of the song. So stick around afterwards if you want to get a little bit of insight into that. Alright, we'll get to the cover.
All I ever wanted was destiny to be fulfilled. It is in my hands. I must not fail. I must not fail. Even through the darkest days, this fire burns always. This fire burns always. This is the broken ground. Misery begins to rise. Turn away from yesterday. Tomorrow's in my eyes. Oh, never more to be held down by the wings of history. Never more to be cast aside. This day is mine. Even through the darkest days, this fire burns always. This fire burns always. I will not be denied. In this final hour, I will not be denied. This day is mine. This passion inside me is burning, is burning. This passion inside me is burning, is burning. Even through the darkest days, this fire burns always. This fire burns always.
Cool, I think that'll do. Alright. My gosh, and Mikey's about to come home, so I will have to do my little narration later, and I might actually talk to the camera mic so I don't have to talk you side on to talk to this microphone. Alright. Oh my god, I'm actually an idiot. I had heaps more time to do that because actually I'm recording on my Macbook Pro, and that hasn't been connected to the internet for ages, ever since like security updates for Snow Leopard were removed. So I've had it off the internet, and as a result it's actually about half an hour out of time. So it thinks it's 3:30 and actually it's 3, and I had heaps of time, but hey, let's go with that. I'm gonna relax for a bit and then I'll talk about stuff. Okay, so I haven't actually listened back to what I sound like yet, but if you want to know like what effects and stuff I've put on it, I will put that at the end of the video just in a flashcard, like after I've edited it, so I'll take notes and let you know what's on it. I'm gonna keep it as raw as possible, so I mean, there's some things it'll probably need, like compression, just to make sure that the singing part and the growl part sound roughly even. And then I guess like a little bit of reverb to try and fit it into the mix. But otherwise, it's going to be pretty much just my voice in one take. And yeah, that'll give you an idea of how I sing now. So talking about things that have changed from 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I could not sing the clean part in that sort of chest voice. So oh gosh, I don't have the pitch right now. I don't have perfect pitch, so I'll just pick a pitch and hopefully it's close enough. So you know how the chorus is sort of like the way I sing it now, even through the darkest days, the way I would have sung that before. And actually I'll put a link to the 5 years ago version, and I'll put it up in this little card thing, so if you click on that you can see what I was like 5 years ago. Oh my god, it's so hard to watch me in the past sometimes. But it's a good learning experience, because the way I used to sing would be more like in the head voice or like mixed voice. I'm a little bit confused because sometimes when you talk about head voice, people assume it's like the really airy, like hey. But I've always had a sort of stronger head voice, mixed voice. All these terms I get confused, but I would have sung it more like, even through the darkest days, this fire burns always. This fire burns always. And with that, like, it's fine, it's a bit soft, and for this sort of a song, I don't know, and for a lot of the songs that I'm singing, I'm starting to realize that doesn't really get the tone that I want, so it sounds stronger if I use the chest voice. You know, I'm not supposed to sing sitting down, but I don't find it that hard, really, but hey. Even through the darkest days. And if I sing it like that, it just feels like it's got more power. And then if I'm singing a song where I want more grit, I can also bring that in more easily, because like grit on the head voice, I'm not sure. No, I can't do it. If I'm doing chest voice, even through the darkest. God, I think I just switched to a different key. I don't know. But I can do that on my chest voice. So that's as an option. But yeah, anyway, for this song, I just like, when I was listening to it again 5 years later, I was like, that's not how I would sing that today. So the main change is in the clean singing bit. I think with the growls, you know, the growls are fairly the same. I haven't changed that false chord technique in a long time. You know, I haven't really changed a lot about that. It's worked really well for me over the years. I guess I've probably just gotten more control. In the 5 years ago video, I do seem to be varying the pitch, which I may have been doing subconsciously, because I feel like I've been able to adjust like the tone of that a little bit better more recently. Like I actually know what I'm doing, whereas in the past I was kind of just going for it with the growls. The growls that I do, I worked out my technique watching a tutorial by Angela Gosso of Arch Enemy, back when she was the singer. So yeah, and I've just sort of developed it from that. It doesn't hurt or anything. I can talk fine afterwards. If I overdo it and like, you know, don't do things properly, then yeah, sometimes I will sound a little bit deeper in my voice afterwards, but otherwise, you know, it's fine as long as I'm being sensible about it and don't like do things that feel wrong. If growling hurts, you're doing it wrong. But anyway, speaking of growling, let's talk about some of the differences between me and the original studio version. Now, the studio version, I think, was done by their second singer, and the way he screams is, I'm pretty sure, a type of fry scream, and that's how, like, so, I have a different growling method, and if you watched my video, my previous video where I show you how bad my fry scream is, you'll see why I didn't use it and why I'm using the false chord growling. And so, you know that beginning scream, I cannot do that beginning scream for the full length, and that's because I'm using false chord growling, which uses a lot of air. You really have to get your diaphragm in that, and you know, being very small, my lungs are also small, so I try to work on the capacity, but there's only so much you can do when you're this tiny. Yeah, so having to manage that. I did watch some videos of their other vocalist doing it live though, and he seems to use a similar technique to me. I don't think it's the same. It actually sounds a little bit painful, but I don't know, maybe I'm misinterpreting what he's doing, but he does it for about the same amount of time that I do it. So yeah, that gave me a little bit more confidence to give it a go. But yeah, the guy who did it on the studio recording, he's using Fry. And so like with false chord growling, if I'm trying to do a long note, I mean, I'm sitting down, so that's not great, but I'll try and do a long note. So it'd be something like, and then I run out of air. Can I do it any slower? Nah, even if I pull back, I can't go any longer. If it's a fry though, and this is I haven't done any fries today, but I'll try. If I do fry, I can hold that for heaps longer because it's more about how long you can hold your breath rather than, you know, letting it out. So it would be something like, hang on, let me, so something like, and so on. It sounds terrible because, yeah, after I've warmed up, I lose the ability to do the more scream-like version of that. So yeah, I'm sorry to put you through that again. But yeah, that's why I don't use the vocal fry for this song. And then also, if you listen to it, he's not just screaming in those screamed passages. It's sort of like, all I ever wanted was destiny to be river. The part where it is in my hands, he's actually using more of his real voice with maybe like a hint of a grit on it. Now, when I've tried that with my false chord, switching between that and then switching to my normal voice and then back, like I can do it, but it doesn't make sense, so...
All I ever wanted was destiny to be fulfilled. It is in my hands. I must not fail. I must not fail.
It's okay, it doesn't seem logical to swap between them, whereas if it's with Fry, I think the way he sounds switching between them, they have a closer sort of sound. I think because Fry is using more of your vocal cords, or, I don't know, I'm not 100% up on all this theory, but I just thought it didn't sound logical to me, so I decided to just go with the false chord growl for the entire sort of screamy section. So that's another decision I made and changed. Other than that, the obvious difference between me and the original singer is that I'm a chick, so they're like, you know, my voice is just never gonna sound like that. So, yeah, I guess, I don't think I've made any particular accommodations because the pitch is relatively comfortable. Obviously in the past, the pitch I found difficult, so I was singing it in that girlier, you know, even through the darkest days, which is like, it's more of a classical technique. I don't know, I can't do opera. Like, what would opera be? Even through... Nah, I can't. Even through the... I just keep changing the key. Nah, I can't get my head around that one. Last days, this fire burn... I don't know how opera does it. I tried a classical singing teacher once and they're like, no, you should go to contemporary. Possibly because of the choice of songs, but possibly because I just wasn't cut out for it. And yeah, it's not really the thing I want to do. I can go quite high, but it still doesn't sound operatic. It just sounds high. And I'm not sure how it sounds to people outside me because I have trouble understanding what my voice sounds like to other people. But inside my head, it sounds kind of shrill. I don't know if you could fix it with EQ, or maybe it's just me being overcritical of myself. Anyway, so I think, yeah, those are the main things that I changed. Is nowadays I sing it differently. I sing the clean part in more of my chest voice. I don't know at what point any of that becomes belting, because like I've just never understood what belting's meant to be. So I'm just gonna say I'm doing chest voice instead of my old head voice, mixed voice method. All these terms, confusing. And then I still do the false chord growl, but that's different from the original dude who did the fry screaming. I'm not sure what method the other vocalist uses, but I'm guessing it's closer to false chord, or it might be that sort of other grit that I do that I demonstrated in my previous video, which I don't know what that's called, but that's using like, it feels like, I think it's a soft palate thing, it feels like it's sort of up here. It feels like it's the grit's being made in my mouth rather than, I don't know where that sound's coming from, actually. I can't really feel it.
Yeah.
I don't know where that sound's coming from. Somewhere here. Yeah. So I probably sing it more like the current vocalist, who was also the original vocalist. That's a change. And then just me being a chick. This is always going to be the thing, just being a chick singing dude songs. So yeah, let's wrap that up, and I will put a list of like any effects and stuff that I put on my vocals when I check it through and just make sure it sits in the mix. But it's probably just going to be compression, reverb, maybe a little bit of delay if that sounds nice, but generally I find it hard to see what impact that makes. I'm not, like, I've done audio, but I'm not an attention to detail in that kind of a sense person, so yeah. I hope you enjoyed this cover, and I hope YouTube doesn't, I mean, like, I don't have monetization, so that's fine, but I hope I don't get any copyright issues. But yeah, coolios. I may do some more covers because, yeah, I'm looking for a band, so I figure this is a good way to be like, hey, here are some more things I can do besides the weird music I did in the past. Yeah, I might take requests, but I have a feeling most people don't really know the kinds of music I'm into. Also, I've got to find backing tracks. It's just really lucky that this one was available on YouTube, and if I can find it again, I'll link it for you. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know, I've got a gazillion Disturbed backing tracks. I could just do a whole bunch of Disturbed covers. Yeah, or I can make my own covers, but if I make my own covers, I suck at guitar, so it's probably just going to be an electronic version, and then God knows I'll get carried away and turn it into a completely different song, so we'll see. If you want to suggest things, go for it, but I'm not going to guarantee anything. I'm probably just going to do the songs that I want to do. Cool, I will see you guys in the next video. Don't know what it's gonna be, but hey, stay tuned and all that. Oh, am I supposed to do the like and subscribe song? I can't be bothered. See you later, guys. Ooh, I remember two of the things I was gonna say. So, in terms of performance, just listening back, a couple of things I did change. I used a more Australian accent when saying cast aside instead of cast aside, or never more to be cast aside. I don't know. I used to sing it that way, but now it sounds so unnatural. That whole American thing. I don't know. I do try and change that. Sometimes I copy exactly how the singer does it, but the more I think about it, the more I start doing it more Australian. So never more to be cast aside. So there's one thing. And then another thing that I changed is, you know, that final always. So I just did that as one long note, whereas in the original track it's like one sort of shorter always followed by a longer always, but there's also screams underneath. And since I'm doing it just as a single voice and not doing any layers or double tracking or whatever, I decided to just make that one long note because, like, it sounded okay doing it as two long, like two clean alwayses, but it's not quite as logical, I felt, in this sort of situation, because what happens in the original track is there's the short always and then the longer always, but then there's a scream underneath, and so that always, the clean always finishes first, and then the scream always takes over, and it's sort of like that transition with just me as a single voice didn't make sense. I don't know. I don't think I watched enough live videos to see how they handle that, so I probably should have done that, but yeah, I don't know. I think I was watching my old video and I just did the one long always, and I was probably under the teacher's advice at the time, and yeah, still feels like the more logical thing for me to do. But yeah, I totally forgot I was going to talk about those little minor things. Anyway, so I think this is just about, like, I've gotten the mix kind of sitting where I think is right. It's a little bit difficult because I'm mixing this on my Yamaha, what are they, HS5s, I think. Oh, wow, it's been a while. I've sort of forgotten. But I don't have a sub on my music setup, so I'm going to have to take it across to my PC where I'm more used to the computer speakers just to make sure there's not too much bass. But I didn't really play with the bass. I cut a chunk of bass out of the very bottom of my vocals just so it doesn't clash with the track, and then the track is just the same as pretty much what I downloaded off the internet, so should be fine. And so I've just got to, there's some talking bits I do at the beginning just to make sure it syncs up with the footage. So I've just got to get the reverb and stuff off that to make sure that it hopefully syncs okay. So yeah, all right. But I'll show you what I'll put a list. I'll take a screenshot, I think, of the effects, and then I'll just list what they are. Yeah, because I can't show you every plugin. There's only a few plugins, but I think it just take up too much of the screen. So basically I've EQ'd my vocals to try and get rid of some of the sibilance and just get rid of the bass that you don't need, and then like some minor stuff to just get the frequencies right. And I also cut a bit of EQ out of the backing track just to make sure my vocal sits there. Then on my vocals I've also put a compressor because the growls are heaps louder than the singing part, so I was trying to balance that, and also like the talking part. So I didn't do any automation. I figured I'd just chuck one thing on there, which I don't know if that's the lazy way, or I don't know, it's kind of a balance between giving you the raw audio of what I'm singing versus like overproducing it, so I don't know. And then there's just a little bit of reverb. I think you can hear the reverb more on the growls somehow. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'll sort of write a list of that and show you what the screenshot looks. Oh, and then I put a limiter overall because when the backing track was sort of like perfectly set to fit, and then when I put my vocals in it, it starts like clipping only in certain points, so I just put a limiter over the whole thing to try and smooth that out. Cool.